don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best. Especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer applause it draws from a so-called friend doing less. Quit playing, I'm saying, you know that you are great, and we know it, so show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. For those of you who already do the things that make us proud, your nation in appreciation says thanks to you out loud. Your schoolmates should imitate the way you tap your potential. Let me try to convince them why their effort is essential. Our men and women in uniform before, during, and after Desert Storm always perform above the norm, anywhere and everywhere on the planet. They need to follow our heroes' lead, but they cannot lead if they cannot read. Allow me, please, to plant this seed. Don't take freedom for granted. I'm serious, I'm furious to see U.S. schools behind. Remove the clatter, it's just a matter of our making up our minds. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. We believe in you, warriors protect you to do what you must to rise. Please do your part. Please start before another warrior dies. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. They sacrifice for you. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Please.
Good afternoon and welcome to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now, here is our host, civilian urban educator, Carl Boyd.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much. This is Saturday, July 13th. We're on Wave Your Grades, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. It is such a delight to be zooming in this afternoon with our producer, our engineer, our announcer, our co-host, which spells peach. And indeed, DeQuay Wilson is a peach, and you are joined. I wanted to tell Jeanette Bush your response when I said she was going to be the guest this afternoon. Will you share with her your response, your reaction?
Of course, absolutely. Initially, I was elated because I have missed you so much and have wanted to see your face. And then I have to admit, I was a little disappointed when I learned it would be over Zoom and not in studio. But that's okay. I'll get a hug from you later. It's okay.
There you go.
I'm just glad to see you either way.
And so it is that it is my pleasure to introduce Jeanette Bush and Musadine Harrell. And
Oh, that's kind.
say that again. Okay. I was going to say that some years ago, as a matter of fact, December 12th, 1987 was when I started something called the Generation Rap on Hot 103 Jams. And for the programs that were coming on, those Saturdays, because I did not have any experience in radio and they allowed me to do the program, I used to look forward to the end of the program. And the reason I would look forward to the end of the program was because it was a task to get through and feel like made it. Now, Jeanette Bush, Musadine Harrell, DeQuay Wilson will testify to you how much we look forward to doing the program because we have really had some stellar guests, some of whom, if not many of whom, have become friends as well as guests to the program. And how often, DeQuay, our producer engineer who has to stop us, are we still talking at the end of the program?
Oftentimes for quite some time.
Absolutely. And I have kind of a preview because there's a program that we do for the Black Archives in Lenexa, and we had a prior discussion there. But this is our Wave Your Grades program dedicated to those who serve and to our young people. And when we have opportunities to show them folks who are doing more than just talking about it, more than just educating, but in fact engaging the community, it is a privilege. And therefore, now I've talked too long already. I would like to ask each of our guests this afternoon, Jeanette Bush, Musadine Harrell, to give us your own introduction with the appropriate title and description. And go
Well,
right.
I'll start off. My name is Musadine Harrell. I am a nurse, registered nurse, with also a master's in business administration, and I am a business owner. Have been for 22 years.
Wow.
Right. So I've been doing in-home care. Started off with in-home care initially, and then we saw the fit that people who were in the in-home care, if they couldn't stay home any longer and they needed a longer term um, assistance, so we started off a residential care facility, and then it's very small. It's only 11 beds, and then from there on branched over to developmental disabilities in terms of mental health, and servicing those individuals in their homes, along with now adult day program that we started in November. So a variety of things to assist individuals with disabilities.
Wow. That is major. And thank you very much for that introduction. Jeanette Bush, please.
Jeanette Bush. Alongside me sitting here, at Courageous Home Care, a former educator for 3 years, this area for children with special needs, and now I work as, excuse me, operations manager with Courageous Home Care, and it's really fun. Get a chance to oversee in-home care, consumer directed services care, and the adult day program.
Let me say, DeQuay, something I think with which you are unfamiliar, but we might have said it before. Wanda and I returned from Arizona in 2010. In 2010, Dr. Marion Brown was the superintendent of the Benjamin Banneker Charter Academy of Technology on 64th and Rock Hill. And she allowed me to be a part of her staff, as was Jeanette Bush.
Mm-hmm.
So we've known each other since Wanda and I returned from Arizona, and we've known each other as fellow educators. So when we look at the history of Musadine Harrell with the consistency of in-home care and at-home care. That has been consistent. In that history, Musadine, has anything changed from when you started out of necessity or out of desire? Or does that in-home care stay pretty much consistent?
In terms of the assistance needed, it's shifted a little bit. When I first started, it was more seniors that were needing the assistance versus just the mental disabilities. Now, I will say the mental disabilities are taking more precedence than the seniors, older age seniors. In terms, even though we have seniors that need the assistance, but the mental disabilities is really trumping those individuals.
Now, that's interesting to me because when you use the term seniors, that immediately lets us know age. But
Age.
when you talk about mental health, that might span decades. I don't know. But if there were someone looking at this program now and wanted to admit or have you deal with a relative, how young might that relative be? And the age range spans what, how many decades?
Well, our programs, we also deal with youth. So we have also a program called Healthy Children and Youth Program through Medicaid. And those individuals, they might have been born with developmental disabilities like cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or however, whatever diagnosis they have. And so the department or Medicaid will pay for services for those individuals. And some kids maybe be on tooth feedings. They may just need the trach services, tracheostomy. So it all depends on the individual. So there are services for the youth that will be, the government will pay for, or if the families want to pay out of pocket. But pretty much 99% of our individuals are Medicaid recipients that we deal with because the government pays for their care.
I will ask both of our guests this afternoon to provide us with contact information and perhaps ask you to repeat it as we go. But if there was someone interested in exploring what you do, how would they contact Musadine Harold?
Again, our company is Courageous Home Care, and they can either Google it in case they missed that. But Courageous Home Care, we're located in Lee Summit. There is like two Courageous. I think when someone Googles, there's one in Georgia, but we are here in Lee Summit, Missouri, and our phone number is 816-699-2352. Again, it's 816-699-2352.
Thank you. And again, we will probably revisit that as we go to a wider explanation of Jeanette Bush's services. Are you still with us? I lost your photo, but is Jeanette still with us?
No, it looks like we've dropped her.
Okay, we lost Jeanette, but only for a moment. I'm sure that we will be back and we will be talking very soon about that. One of the things, Musadine, is that while there are those who are no doubt in need of your services, and we will get the opportunity to talk about the possibility of expansion, how about those who might want to volunteer and become a part of what you do?
We'll always accept volunteers as long as they're able to pass the background screening and they have to be 18 years and older. So there's one background screening through the Family Care and Safety Registry that checks all. There's like 6 components of the background check, and so once that individual registers, we can utilize them after the results comes back. And so again, we'll take volunteers, and because we work with so many different vast services, we can tap into maybe someone being a companion with someone, or maybe if they want to go cut someone's grass, or we've never had anyone come and say, "I want to volunteer." And then in my residential care facility, they may need somebody to do activities with them or come and talk with them or, do their nails, whatever the situation, however they want to volunteer, we'll accept volunteers and plug them in somewhere.
Have you ever run into a situation that was so daunting that you thought you might not be able to provide what needed to be provided? And at that point, how do you search for someone who might be able to help, whatever that cause might be?
Oh, I get those all the time. So individuals will call, especially they want, placement for the residential. Again, they have to also meet criteria. We do not accept every single person that is disabled due to the fact that we are tiered in terms of our level of care. So our level of care is the least restrictive. So such as they have to be able to navigate pathway if there's a fire. So if they are in a wheelchair, they have to be able to get up from the bed to the wheelchair and exit the building. So if families call me and say, "Well, my loved one is bedbound," I said, "I'm sorry, we cannot accept it, but let me try to help you get another avenue, which is a skilled nursing." And then I've gone into even explaining what skilled nursing is and who pays for it. Medicare will pay for skilled nursing. Versus they'll pay for residential care facilities. So if an individual says, "Well, I'm only on SSI, which is $600." Well, SSI $600 is not going to get you in a residential care facility. So if there's extra need, the government will pay a long-term care facility such as nursing home. Unfortunately, they'll pay the nursing home their dollars versus residential care facility. It's not a good deal, but that is how our government is set up. And so I will navigate them in terms of them getting the help they need in another avenue. So I've had people call me for a younger individual. My residents, the youngest one is about 65. And so if they had a younger individual wanted to come into the residential care facility, I usually would try to see if they have a mental disability, which they can fall under the Department of Mental Health and have the other services we also provide, which is individual. It's called ISL for short. If you hear that term, as individualized service living. So if they've been diagnosed before 21 years of age with a mental disability, they could tap into those services, and Medicaid will pay for their care, 24-hour care around the clock. But they also have to have some type of assistance money, Social Security or SSI disability, where they can pay for their own housing, room and board, or their family pays for their housing, however. So there's
Uh,
a vast services.
yes, ma'am. By the way, needless to say, as we always say, DeQuay, chime in if there is a question and or comment.
Absolutely.
Okay. One of the things that occurred to me, and sometimes I think, DeQuay, you and I think alike. One of the things that occurred to me immediately was when Musadine Harold said, "We only have 11 beds." And I thought that that is a significant service. Does that suggest then, Sister Harold, that you look forward to the possibility of expanded service?
Well, in the expansion of the scheme of things, again, that's just the residential care facility portion. It's such a great need, but it's such a hard task to even get accomplished, really. So in that portion, it's probably just going to be tapped out at that type of services that we provide there.
I
But
think
again,
it's significant. Hmm.
yeah, it's really significant. But we also have, like I said, because now it's more, you see the mental disabilities arising, and I always try to think of how else I can help the individuals that miss that mark of the 21-year age and they're homeless and they're out there. I also have an independent living. I didn't mention that. I always tend to forget those people. But I have 13 guys that I assist with housing, and they stay also in my building. So I've expanded from 6 beds to the addition to add up to 13. So I have a full 13. And these are all gentlemen that were homeless. and couldn't find anywhere else to go. And as long as they don't have any drug problems or alcohol abuse, they're in my building. So um, another thought process, if I were to expand, will be in terms of the homeless population, getting the
Ooh,
individuals that are out there. A lot of veterans are out there just because they didn't know how to manage their money and they're homeless, or however the situation is.
wow.
These individuals also have mental disabilities, so I see a lot of that coming through the door. And so I try, even though it's not part of my daily duties, try to get them on Medicaid if they don't have it, food stamps. So I'm like their social worker,
Yeah.
resource person.
Okay.
Doctors. How do we connect you with somebody's doctor? Because you don't have a doctor, getting them their medication. So I've done a variety of things, even that being their representative payee, so they know how to manage their money instead of being homeless. I need to pay your bills, so I've done, just whatever is needed to help. Um, so if I were to expand, it will be on that level because there's no regulations in terms of government um, telling me I have to do X, Y, and Z to keep these individuals. These individuals, that's why I call it my independent living. They're like in their own apartment, but needing extra assistance. Maybe a caregiver will send them a caregiver through Courageous. So, I try to just be, have an open box. How do I figure out things? Step outside the box, to help that person in whatever way.
This is so very inspiring. And let me tell you, I can say on a personal note that Jeanette Bush inspires me for a number of reasons. But Jeanette, I can honestly say that I know firsthand not only of your dedication, wanting to provide services that are both academic and mental health services as well. And I am not asking that you chronicle all that you have had to go through. I would just like to introduce my question by saying to you that I know that you have faced some challenges where support was needed to a greater degree. I'd love to read your book when you talk about how you've gotten through some of the things that you have. But as it relates to evolution of events, where did you start? Where are you? Where are you going?
Yeah, I think right now, this is this is completion for me. For me,
Praise God.
I think I love being at Courageous Home Care because Musadine and I have been working together. I've served on her board since 2010. So this is not a new relationship. And so, by the way, it's just a continuation. And so, I haven't had the experience for us to connect while working with students years ago, having our students adopt the clients in the in-home service with Musadine as grandparents. Those intergenerational relationships that formed were just amazing. And I see it's just to be in a continuation because the students who were being served had a need, and the clients who we were at that time were visiting also had a need. I think those relationships have been something I've always been interested in. Intergenerational partnerships. I think that on both ends there's a benefit. Children with disabilities, their lives are enhanced with positive adults who've had consistent positive adults, and for those adults, older adults who are sometimes needing to feel connected again, I think children serve that need. So it's dual, and I think right now that's the kind of the role I'm in, and I'm excited for the possibilities that exist moving forward.
I will want you to elaborate on something that Musadine brought up. In preparation for that, Sister DeQuay, is Brother Louis George Walker still in close proximity, or will he be returning?
I believe he'll be returning. He's not currently in the room with me.
Okay, we'll be going to a break in 3 or 4 minutes. But as we anticipate that, let me just say to Quay how God works. Jeanette Budge has expertise in many manners of education, not just from applying what she knows as an educator, as a teacher, as a counselor, but also as an administrator. And when we talk about education and schools, we're talking about primary grades all the way up to graduating from high school. Now, the reason I took that much time, Jeanette, to ask a task of you, if you will, Musadeen Harrell, let us know that those things physical that would attack the elderly came to her attention. We're talking about 2001. It is
Hmm.
2024, and her
Hmm.
attention has evolved into how important it is to deal with mental health. With an evolution like that, God has sent you to her because of your background, personal experiences, all of that. How do you feel about how those things work together?
And before I answer, I do want to say, DeQuay, before I get into this answer, it's good to see you again. And I'm glad we having this opportunity to be together today on the show. So I didn't have a chance to acknowledge you, but thank you for acknowledging me. And I just want to say that. And my answer is, Mr. Dean is she's my sister. God put her in my life at the time that He did. He was purpose when He did it, and I had so much energy, and then and optimism about the world and what I believed could be happening for individuals with special needs, and for children and adults. And then I meet Musadeen, who was working just as hard as I felt I was working on the other side, and it was just it was a godsend. God did put us together, and she's a yes person. If it's good for the children, or if it's good for the adults around, it doesn't matter. Her answer is going to always be yes. Let's find a way to do it. She's going to tell you yes. And uh and that's how it's been. That's how our relationship has been and has evolved. And she's consistent, and she's hardworking and committed to the vision. So I love it. I've been working with children in mental health for a very long time. They're all interwoven. They're connected, and it just makes sense to um, find a way to discuss the lifespan, because our children, as they grow, they're going to get older, and they're going to need services. And if there is a way to streamline services to make it easier, then I think that's what we should be doing. And I love that that's what's happening at Courageous Home Care. If we can find a way to streamline those services and make it easier for families, let's do that through school, through education, through healthcare, through mental health awareness, through our faith. Um, we're doing it. That's what's going to help longevity, and that's going to help us have stronger and healthy children and adults.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to ask that again, our Peach, our producer, engineer, announcer, and co host, take us to our first break. And then would like to hear the two of you expand upon some more of your services after we hear from DeQuay Wilson.
It is time to remind our 7th through 12th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we do say organization on purpose, with purpose. Students for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school who can be absolutely anyone, custodian, coach, bus driver, absolutely anyone. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Waive Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. For entry or inquiry, please send to stootsforboots@gmail.com. That is STOOTS FORBOOTS@gmail.com. Now back to our host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very, very much. And before calling upon Louis George Walker, let me say to Quay that I have neglected to say thank you to VFW Post 8100 in Grandview, Missouri, that they have offered to pay the prize, but we have not properly, if you will, promoted apparently the essay contest because we're not getting the participation we're looking for. So I'm going to do a better job of reaching out to the schools, even during the summer. But Jeanette Bush and Lucidine Harrell, Courageous Home Care, Lee's Summit, 816 699 2352. Let us hear the ways that those who would like to can access KUAW.org from its founder, Mr. Louis George Walker.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Carl and guests. We're so glad that you guys are tuning in today to KUAW Radio. KUAW Radio is Kansas City's global community radio station. It is a partnership with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center and the Black Family Technology Awareness Association of Kansas City. You can pick us up when we broadcast live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and Twitch. You can also pick up our audio broadcast 24 hours a day, 365 days a year on the TuneIn app, on Get Me Radio, on my online radio box, my radio tuner, and Radio Garden. You can also go to KUAW.org to listen to the station. And if you have a smart speaker, Google or Amazon, tell it to play KUAW Radio, and you can pick us up there. You can also search us on Facebook. If you have a Roku or you have Amazon Fire, just search KUAW Radio. There's a lot of ways to pick us up, and we'll be glad to hear from you.
Thank you so very, very much, Louis George Walker. And when I think about the ways to access media in 2024, DeQuay, you know, I was working with young people at Synergy Services and ages 12 to 20. And the title of my presentation was Teach Me You. And I would always say I was 15 in 1957. What does it mean to be 15 in 2024? So, Brother Louis George Walker, if you were telling people how to access the radio 1957, you could say, and you can get us on WVON. That was it.
Yes, we did forget. And if you're in the historic Jazz District or around the urban core of Kansas City, you can pick us up on 100.5 KOJH FM radio in Kansas City, broadcasting from the Kansas City original Jazz House, the historic Jazz District down on 18th and Vine area. So tune your radio to 100.5, and you can pick up KUAW whenever we're doing some of these live broadcasts also.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, Louis George Walker, I don't know whether you had an opportunity to observe the screen. DeQuay Wilson, I don't know if you were observing the screen at the time, but there is a smile on the faces of Lucidine Harrell and Jeanette Bush because, ladies, you are engaging or intend to engage media properties that would allow audiences to hear from you, to hear you, to interact with you. Are we close to moving forward? How is that project going?
Jeanette, take the floor, Jeanette.
Well, we've been working on a weekly podcast, and we're basically talking about issues, or not necessarily issues, but the lives of caregivers and what it entails. Not necessarily specific or germane to courageous home care, but definitely does not are not eliminated from the conversation. So we talk about a number of topics from Medicaid to Medicare. We talk about stress management. We talk about health, healthy choices. Um, we talk about the life of a caregiver and what the caregiver does. We talk about ways for clients to access information from the state. They might have about care plans, who to contact, and how to go about doing that. We talk about that as well. So, and ways to preserve yourself. Um, so all of those topics we try to broach them one at a time each week, and then act with those who are listening.
And let me suggest
So
to
that's
you,
Friday. I'm sorry. We
go ahead.
usually every Friday. I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd. Every
Yeah.
Friday at noon. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you that your producer and engineer, DeQuay Wilson, I don't think that it is far-fetched for me to halfway read your mind. This program is called Wave Your Grades. We dedicate it to veterans. We talk about students achieving excellence in honor of veterans. And I don't know about your military service. I am a civilian. I have never served. And I think that is true of DeQuay as well. We have not served. So here we are with a program, and we're talking about veterans and students. Someone might ask, now, what does this have to do with veterans? And what I was suggesting, I can speak for both of us, DeQuay Wilson, if anybody needs these services, it is without a doubt our veterans.
Absolutely, but I wanted to
So
know
I
what
am a
platform
civilian and I can say thank you in their behalf. I'm sorry, go ahead, DeQuay.
what platform can we catch your podcast on? I didn't catch you. I didn't hear you say that. Are you
Right.
you're in the planning stages? Is that correct?
We're beginning. We started off on Facebook. We're connecting now with a nice gentleman that Mr. Carl Boyd introduced us to, and he's going to let us start doing it next Friday. So we're excited. And so, again, this is not our expertise. We're our caregivers. So we're going to jump out there and figure out where to put it and everything. So we're still learning, but we are on Facebook. That's what we are on the Courageous Home Care Facebook page.
Outstanding. Courageous Home Care Lee's Summit.
Yeah.
And go ahead, DeQuay.
That was the only question I had for now.
Okay. Now, one of the captions I might capture for what we're talking about today is, quote, how to make ends meet, unquote. Now, let me tell you the M's I'm talking about, and that, of course, is indeed mental health. What we're talking about now, M meaning media. And one of the things that we have not talked a lot about is the plight of males. And unfortunately, in too many cases, Black males and mental health. Are there any particular trends, or does it span gender and all of our different, diverse patients?
Ooh, that's a good question. When we look at the vast majority of the people we serve and the ones that we're coming in contact with, and also the provider list, is more men that have the mental health issues to the looks of it. Um, and so, majority of our clients are males, you know, um, that does fall under the mental health. And I'm not sure why that shift. Maybe I'm not sure, or maybe women are just so um, trying to figure things out and more proactive. I'm not sure. That is like really interesting that you asked that question. And it's not one particular thing. It's not because they were in the military, they have these. It's just a vast majority of things. It's life.
Sister
I
Bush?
think Mr. Dean, was talking about this a little bit before the show, and I know I was having some technology issues there for a moment. Uh, the number of residents who are at the residential facility, I believe six of the clients who will get service there do have a military background. There's some Musadine, I think your population upstairs is what, say African American? Is that
Yeah.
70,
hmm
80% African American? It's
Total
pretty
in the
high.
building. Yeah.
And we call the bottom half the independent living cave.
hmm
These are know if they were not connected to the Musadine's programs, they would be homeless. We're pretty certain.
Wow.
So, yes, there is a need. I want to, if I could point this out too, Mr. Boyd, when I did special children with special needs, not uncommon for there to be a high population of male students, and that's consistent in the 3 decades that I did the work. I consistently year after year. You had a high number of male population, a high number of males who were in the program, and we looked at a number of reasons why that could have been possible for students or for children.
Yeah.
The majority of teachers are women. We don't know what the and I don't know if the tolerance is the right word, but I think sometimes you have to have multiple eyes to be able to see how the male population move. So not having men on staff, I think you need male teachers, you need male
Ooh,
counselors, you need male administrators. So where we saw at one period in time in history where it was all male versus female, you're seeing just a reverse where in the teaching profession it's predominantly women. So you have this high number of young people, young men who are going through a system with special needs, and that's my phone, Mr. Dean. So you have a high number of young people who have special needs who are diagnosed through these programs. I think the set of eyes who are on the population does impact what we see in that. So not having diversity there, gender and also cultural specific, does impact our numbers. And we see it all the way through the lifespan with supportive services. That's just my own personal professional thought and experience with that.
without a doubt. How can those who support help financially?
Um, I'll say we always, open for donations. We've never been asked that. We have done the best we can with whatever we can do. Prime example, we're trying to open a school for special needs disability children, starting with kindergarten through 12th grade. And so we're in the beginning stages, and I'm glad you asked, well, how can someone donate? Well, we would need a whole school furnished. And so we're
Oh,
talking about that as days are going on. We're in the process of
We
okay.
got
getting a
4 weeks.
space. hmm Yeah. So we do not turn anything down. We're looking at desks or computers or whatever. So we have less than a month to get everything. We're looking at
Yeah.
August 26th to start. So we're almost, well, about a month and a couple weeks, a week, that we have to get everything in place. So that's where
Uh,
we are.
Sister DeQuay, is Brother Louis George Walker still around?
Yes, he is.
Let me ask Brother Walker a question, if I might, right quick. Might it be opportune, considering what we are talking about this afternoon, to forge something of a partnership or development of resources between Courageous Home Care and the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center?
Well, I'm about like they say. I'm one of the ones that believes all things are possible. So we
Yes, sir.
talk to the powers that be. I think that the thing would be, and Miss Tamara's not here. I don't want to speak for her, but Tamara Sykes, I would think would definitely be open to say how can W.E.B. Du Bois and their work coordinate or collaborate together. So I think that that's something that bears looking into. Have you guys been in touch with Tamara Sykes?
No.
No, I've never heard of her, but yes, we appreciate that if we can get contact information.
Okay, I will get with Mr. Boyd after the show and see if we can't hook you guys up.
We appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
and let me say, as I thank Brother Louis George Walker, that Brother Walker and the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, as a singular resource, has contacts with too many entities to name, so that you suspect that you will come to the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center on a Saturday and see teachers tutoring. But then, oh, wait a minute, there's a robotics contest that Brother Louis George Walker is conducting downstairs. Oh, wait a minute. The members of Omega Psi Phi and Alpha Phi Alpha, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, but those fraternal organizations have their logos where they are also participating with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. So we are blessed that we have a contact through Louis George Walker, because he cannot name the number of resources he's been responsible for since the founding of Black Family Technology Awareness Association and the KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom.org radio station. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Brother Walker.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
We are definitely going to follow up on that. And excuse me. One of the things that I have said that Sister DeQuay, you've heard me say this more than once, Sister Jeanette.
Hmm.
I went to high school from 1955 until 1959. 4 years of high school. 4 years. We heard a rumor of one classmate claiming to contemplate suicide. 4 years, one rumor. What is the landscape like today?
I can just speak from during my time as an educator uh, uh, in high school, middle school, in the past decade. That wouldn't that wouldn't be common if you heard that once a day.
Wow.
You know, once
Yes,
once a
ma'am.
day.
Yes, ma'am.
So and I think that's an understatement, because what teachers were asked to do was be on alert. And so there were certain things you would look for or listen for. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just tired of living. I'm exhausted. I want to give up. There were certain words you have to listen for. And then sometimes it would be outright, I want to die. And so anytime you would hear those comments, we automatically made sure we had made contact with that student, and that student was sent to a counselor or a trusted individual in the building to get immediate help. Yeah.
Wow. And Musity and Harold, as it relates once again to the age factor, I'm old enough to recall, quote, back in the day, unquote, military personnel used a term, quote, shell shocked, unquote. Eventually, those more professional and more in depth spoke to PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. Can we imagine in 2024 something that was attended to by those who had been in the military, shell shock? that we now actually have students with a similar diagnosis. And Sister Musadeen, with the age range that you have, are you ever absolutely surprised at the kinds of cases you have to ask someone to address? Or, as Sister Bush said, is it so common now that it doesn't surprise you, but it does alarm you?
No, it does not surprise me at all because our children are now so susceptible to anything. They're dealing with grown-up things, and so we're seeing more younger people having to battle these things. And if they don't have the right person or someone they can call and lean on to, they end up in the system. So we're seeing a lot of individuals, they call it defiant conduct behavior
Yeah.
diagnosis. Um, and I believe it's something that started at a young age, but no one got a handle of it. And so now they're put in facilities to live in. So because their parents weren't able to control the situation when they were young. So it's becoming more and more prevalent. So it's going to be really, really
Mhm.
interesting to see what the government is going to be able to do with these individuals because they're starting off so young. I
Mhm.
think Jeanette works with children at her other place. And so they're coming in at 4, 5, 3, maybe whenever they can talk. It's really sad. And so post traumatic, again, that can be anything. It doesn't have to do with military, but it can be, situations in the home where these kids were raped at a young age, and that's post traumatic. And so it's unfortunate. This is the world we live in, but that diagnosis is freely given to everybody.
It is unfortunate when I think about when I was attending school some time back, we never would have thought of something called a, well, ours was the fire drill. We never would have thought of something called an active shooter drill. I mean, you just,
Oh,
Right, right. Yeah.
right.
Lord, go ahead,
Mhm.
Jeanette.
Mhm.
No, I think you nailed it, Mr. Boyd. We just live in a very, very different day. Trauma informed care is just about in every school. And a lot of support agencies are using positive behavior supports, and they're also using a lot of behavior management systems to help manage behavior. They call it emotional regulation. And if you have emotional intelligence, you can move through the world. Those who struggle with emotional intelligence, we are seeing the results. Unfortunately, the last 2.5 decades have resulted in, you know, shootings, school shootings, because the emotional intelligence isn't there. And that has become the way with how we handle things. So we have to be mindful. And I think we're seeing it across grade level, across ages, across races, and we're also across genders.
Well, I would like to just ask for expert on our panel, Sister DeQuay Wilson, to kind of observe the landscape. What are you seeing, and what are you thinking about what you're seeing?
As far as what's going on in the world, or as far as our youth, I think,
We don't hear you. I'm sorry.
are you asking as far as like what's going on in the world, or as far as what's going on with our youth? I think especially youth that are struggling, I think the problem is the lack of investment in them. And when I nodding my head when I hear Jeanette speak about the lack of emotional intelligence. And if you think about it, we have a lot of adults that also suffer from a lack of emotional intelligence. And these are oftentimes the adults that are in the homes with these kids and are teaching them in the same patterns. So, which is one of the reasons why I look so highly of you, and also you, Jeanette. You have the two of you, I know, have poured greatly into our youth, and you're part of the reason why we do have um, hope for the future. But I know that's not where the conversation was going. And we are almost out of time. We have 5 minutes left. So I want to thank you ladies for what it is that you're doing, because you don't just cover one population, you're covering a multiple population. And when we think about investment in communities, this is exactly what you guys are doing. So thank you so much for your contribution to the community. And I know that Carl would like to give you an opportunity to get some last words in. Again, we only have 5 minutes left, so I do not want to take away from that.
You cannot possibly take away from that because your contributions are always just too valuable. And what that means for the four of us and Brother Walker as well, we must promise a follow up. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies, your final words, please, Sister Musadine and Harold.
My final words is, whatever I can do to help our community, I'm willing, and I appreciate you guys letting us come on the show. Mr. Carboyd and Miss Walker, I just met. I think it's just a wonderful thing you guys are doing, and whenever there's community involvement, I'm like, okay, what can I do? So I appreciate you guys, and that's all I really have.
And I'll just say this very quickly, that we are blessed that you're not in the studio, because I think you said Ms. Walker, and I think Louis George Walker's wife might uh, be concerned about that. And she is Sister DeQuay Wilson, and he
Oh,
is
Wilson. Where did I see Walker at? I thought I saw Walker on the chat.
Louis,
That's Mr.
Louis
George
George
Walker's
Walker.
name.
Oh, I see it on the chat, so I'm calling
Yes.
you Walker. Okay. Miss
He's
DeQuay Wilson. Okay.
he's our founder, and he is the gentleman from whom we heard and are blessed to
Okay.
hear from you. So thank you very
I apologize for the miscommunication of names.
much.
I was reading her name tag.
All is
No,
forgiven.
Yeah, it wasn't miscommunication. It was Miss Wilson. Please,
yeah.
your final word.
Just want to say thank you for allowing us to come on today, Mr. Boyd. And if you need help with in-home services, or if you have a child with special needs and or adult, just reach out to Courageous Home Care and or Courageous Academy, courageoushckc.org, Harrell at courageoushckc.org, or jbush at courageoushckc.org. 816-699-2352.
Outstanding. My goodness. And as I said before, and it panned out that we get to the end of the program, and there's so much more that we want to discuss and hear from the expert panelists that we have. Ladies, I pray that you will allow me, and I say this suspecting, of course, that we are together enough for me to make the assumption, but I want to bring on some veterans when you are on as well, so that we can help say thank you to young people who are doing well, investing in the veterans, and thank you to the veterans for their service. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
DeQuay.
Thank you.
Thank you, JaQuay.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Well, let me
And
take this
thank Mr.
opportunity.
Walker. One person, Mr.
Yes,
Walker.
Mr.
Okay,
Walker.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
got
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Perfect.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our guests and our listeners for joining us on your Stoots for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri. I am DeQuay Wilson, your announcer. Now, our host, Carl Boyd, will close with either Carl's commentary on academic patriotism or his daily message for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
Thank you so very much. And as has been the case of late, which is a good thing, I have time only for the morning message, and that is because of the depth of our very special guests and how long we could go on with the expertise you represent. For the book, Morning Messages, I offer a statement per day. To students across the USA, your Stoops for Boots message for this day, July 13th. On certain days, students can dress like heroes. For troops, every day is a certain day. July 13th. On certain days, students can dress like heroes. For troops, every day is a certain day. And I was reminded last week by DeQuay Wilson to repeat that daily word. And so it is. Thank you so very, very much for being with us this afternoon. Wave your grace. Lucidine Harrell, Jeanette Bush, DeQuay Wilson, Mr. Louis George Walker, Carl Boyd saying, Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.